Hey there, welcome back to the channel. You may be wondering, where have those Boat Geeks been the past few months? And you'll likely notice that Darren isn't here. He's on an indefinite leave of absence from the podcast, dealing with personal family matters. But fear not, we're keeping that seat warm for him. Thanks for watching. And so that really makes the 1,000 yards and from 400 or greater to get out of the way, because you might be in the middle of where they're trying to eat, or we don't want to impact that. So that's why we need to move out of the way. That makes sense. Okay.
That's exactly right. And you're touching on something really important, which is the why. Why is this important? It's a big ask we're making of boaters to change course, to be really aware of their surroundings on the water. Why do we want them to do this? Why does it matter to the whales? And what we've been seeing in the science, more and more science is showing just how much underwater noise impacts the whale's ability to find and catch food.
From the Big Seattle Boat Show and recorded on location in the heart of the action, it's the Boat Geeks with Darren O'Brien.
We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. We're the Boat Geeks.
Welcome to another episode of the Boat Geeks. I'm your other host, Darren, because Darren Katz couldn't be here today. But as you can see, we're at the 2025 Seattle Boat Show, the West Coast's biggest boat show. And my guest today is Julie Watson, the killer whale policy lead at the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. Julie, welcome to the Boat Geeks.
Thanks so much for having me.
Now, I have to ask, because all of our guests are boat geeks in one capacity or another. Are you a boat geek? Do you love boats?
Yeah. Personally, I'm a kayaker.
That's
so
a boat.
Love getting out, particularly in the Nisqually area.
Nice. Yeah, I've been down there on our boat, and I remember thinking, wow, what a paradise, especially at high tide.
It's beautiful. I always see so many bald eagles, and there's harbor seals. It's just a lovely place.
Killer whale every once in a while, maybe? An
Only
orca?
once.
Once.
Transient killer whales across the way.
Oh, neat. Yeah, wow. So the reason we were so excited to have you on our show is because you are going to talk to us about, drum roll, the new regulations that already are in effect, because they went in effect, January 1st, 2025?
Yes. Yeah, you said it's the 2025 Seattle Boat Show, and I was like, wow, it really is 2025.
Yes. So for those of our viewers and listeners out there that don't know, give us a little background on what these new regulations are and how they came about.
Sure. Yeah. So the regulation that changed on January 1st was a new setback or buffer or bubble around the endangered southern resident killer whales. And that bubble is 1,000 yards on both sides. So you have to stay 1,000 yards away. It's about a half nautical mile from the endangered southern resident killer whales. And then there's a little bit more on top of that, but that's the big easy part you need to remember.
Don't forget 1,000 yards. And prior to this year, what was the previous distance?
The previous distance was, most recently, 300 yards to each side and 400 yards front and back, which you can hear is a mouthful to say, and that's part of the reason why we went to a standard distance.
That's easy to remember and figure. So you guys have a booth here, the Be Whale Wise booth, because we all need to be whale wise when we're out there. What has the interaction been like for you guys in the booth with the boating public?
We find a lot of people have heard of Be Whale Wise before. Some have seen us at the boat show before, which is great. And people are really curious. They want to learn about whales. They want to talk about times they've seen whales, and they want to know what they can do to help.
Good. That's a positive. Because I imagine that you probably hear some grumblings as well, occasionally.
Yeah, and I think a lot of folks who we hear it's questions. And those questions come from a place of, I just don't want to be seen as doing the wrong thing. I don't want to get in trouble when I'm out on the water trying to enjoy my day.
Right. So for those folks that want to make sure that they follow the rules, they love the whales, don't want to do anything wrong, do you have kind of a rule of thumb in terms of how to determine how far you are from the whales?
Yeah, so one, there's some cool tools. If you're a golfer, you can use your rangefinder. You can take it on your boat with you and use that to practice gauging distance. Whenever I go out with our enforcement officers, I'm always doing that and trying to guess and learn distances better. Another way, Washington Sea Grant is going to come out with a new little card that they call a rangefinder card, which will give you some information, and they use calculations. So if you hold the card out, it helps you see what size things are at distance. And then the third thing is that average male southern resident orca dorsal fin is about the size of an adult man, around
about
6 feet.
6 feet.
Yeah, so at 1,000 yards away, that's going to be really small.
Right.
So you're looking for signs of whales. If you see a dorsal fin, if you see a blow, and it looks like it's an orca, you're probably at 1,000 yards, or maybe even a little closer than that.
Okay.
So what we're asking people to do in that case, if you think you see them and you're like, I'm probably closer than 1,000 yards, there's a 7-knot speed limit. So go slow and just move back. Be aware of your surroundings and get back to that 1,000-yard distance. If you're doing that, you're probably doing the right thing. Now, if the orcas would pop up right next to your boat, we know they do that sometimes, then the best practice is to immediately disengage the transmission, if it's safe to do so. So safety always matters, and you're not going to get in trouble for trying to operate safely. So disengage the transmission, wait for the whales to move away. Once they're more than 400 yards away, again, slowly you can back away to that 1,000 yards.
And
This episode of The Boat Geeks is sponsored by The Boater's Guide, a free app for Pacific Northwest boaters. The Boater's Guide is adventure and information, right at your fingertips, right when you need it. Find your happy place with The Boater's Guide, a free download on your phone or tablet in the App Store and Google Play.
I remember that there were certain conditions there used to be in terms of if you're approaching, if they're behind you. But this is a 1,000-yard radius around your boat, so it doesn't matter which way they're moving and which way you're moving. So if they're within 1,000 yards, it's disengage, neutral.
Within 1,000 yards, if it's not within 400 yards, so they're over there, but you think you're a little too close, it's okay to move away.
Then you can move
slowly,
back. Okay,
under
right.
7 knots. If they're within 400, then it's disengage and wait for them to move along.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That's interesting.
Yeah, because you never know where they're going to pop up. When you're within that distance, you're kind of getting close, and they dive, and then they might come up unexpectedly in different areas. And so the best thing you can do is just wait it out, let them go. We do ask folks, though, like I said, it's better to move away if you're far enough away that you can safely do so. And you don't want to get in their path. So in general, if you're staying 1,000 yards away, you don't want to stop and wait for the whales to come to you. You want to keep moving out of their way the best you can.
Oh, okay.
Try to maintain that 1,000-yard perimeter.
And if there's a pod of local residents, it's not hard to discern their direction, the course they're on.
Yeah.
Typically, it seems like you can always tell, well, they're going to the east, for instance.
Yeah, they have some different patterns of behavior. And so traveling is what you're describing. Often when they're traveling, they might be spread out, but you'll see them kind of going the same way. Sometimes they mill about or they're foraging. In those cases might be when they pop up somewhere unexpected.
Oh, okay.
So they can be spread out. They can do unexpected things, but oftentimes you do kind of get a feel for like, oh, they look like they're traveling along this shoreline.
But if they're milling about and feeding, I honestly hadn't really considered that, because when we're out there and we see them, it always seems like they're moving, they're traveling. And so that really makes the 1,000 yards and from 400 or greater to get out of the way, because you might be in the middle of where they're trying to eat, or we don't want to impact that. So that's why we need to move out of the
Yeah,
way. That
yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
That's exactly right. And you're touching on something really important, which is the why. Why is this important? It's a big ask we're making of boaters to change course, to be really aware of their surroundings on the water. Why do we want them to do this? Why does it matter to the whales? And what we've been seeing in the science, more and more science is showing just how much underwater noise impacts the whale's ability to find and catch food. And unfortunately, the females that might have young calves with them will just give up on trying to find food altogether. And the males might still pursue food, and they might use a lot of energy doing a deep dive for the big, juicy Chinook that they're trying to catch. But when boats are nearby, almost always they'll be unsuccessful. So they've burned a lot of energy and got no payout from it. So really, when you're giving those whales that space, or you're slowly moving away to give them that extra space, you might be making the difference that helps them catch their dinner and stay alive and healthy for another day.
Yeah. Okay, that makes it even more important for all of us out there to adhere to the new regulations, do your best. You did mention enforcement. What's involved with that at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my agency is the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, and we've got a bunch of enforcement officers, and they have some boats, and they're often out doing a bunch of stuff. So they're enforcing different things on the water, but one of the things they try to do when the whales are here is to be present and be on the scene. And that can make a big difference just in terms of cluing folks in that something might be going on. If
Right.
you see that enforcement vessel, or if their lights flashing, let me slow down. It's kind of like if you see the police officer in the median of the road and you just tap your brakes a little to say, am I speeding? Let me just check. They do a great job. It's just their presence creates a lot of awareness that something might be happening and to be cautious. They're also doing a lot of education and outreach and
would
just
imagine.
talking to folks.
Yeah.
They're not writing a lot of tickets, and probably won't be writing a lot of tickets unless something really egregious happens. Somebody who they just talked to then speeds right towards the whales. Hopefully no one will do that.
Yeah.
So they can write tickets. More often than not, though, they're just trying to help inform people like, hey, you're actually a little closer than you thought you were, and let's show you where to be. And they have some enforcement partners. So NOAA and the Coast Guard, they're out there sometimes too, helping out.
Wow. What about the whale watch industry and all the boats? Are they a big, proponent and helper in terms of assisting with the new regulations? I would hope so.
Yeah, thanks for that question. That's been really interesting because the commercial whale watching industry, most of the time, most of the year for the past 4 years, they've been adhering to this half nautical mile distance already around southern residents.
Okay.
So this wasn't a big change for them. We had some certain conditions where they were allowed to watch whales more closely, the southern residents more closely, but often there was a vulnerable whale there, in which case they wouldn't. And so a lot of whale watch operators are already avoiding the southern residents, and they're trying to maintain that 1,000-yard distance. And so they were really helpful and really excited, for the most part, in helping support this law, because it makes it easier if everybody's kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah. And I would imagine it would be frustrating if you're a whale watch operator, you're following the regulations, and these little private boats are buzzing past you and going too close, and the people on your boat are like, well, why are they doing it? So if everybody follows the rules, the whales will be happy. Now, you mentioned the sound. Our boats, under power, propellers, and I've been to Lime Kiln State Park, where they have the audiophone or the hydrophone. And when the freighters go by, it's sad to think that for someone that relies on echolocation for their food, can't find their food because the environment is too loud.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's a good reminder, too, because there's a lot of stuff we're trying to do to help these whales survive. And there was an orca task force a few years ago. They had 49 recommendations that involve salmon recovery and toxic pollution and all these things that we're trying to do. And everybody who has to do something a little different to help the whales, it feels like a big ask. And why is this a me thing? What about everything else? And so we want to make progress on all of those issues. And large vessels are part of the noise equations, the underwater soundscape, we think of it sometimes. And those large vessels are much louder than private vessels. They're typically also not whale oriented, so they're not going near or through the whales or towards the whales on purpose. They're typically on their track doing what they're doing. So we have some really interesting programs in place that are kind of specially tailored to those large vessels and their particular impacts and needs, and how do we help them help the whales too. So there's a couple things. One, there's an app called Whale Reports, and sightings of whales that get reported to that go into this system that alerts those commercial mariners of those large shipping container ships. Hey, there might be whales in your path, so consider changing course or slowing down if you can. So that's one thing.
Whales are susceptible to ship strike and disturbance. There are up to 20,000 fatal ship strikes annually, making it the leading cause of human-related injury and death to large whales globally. Shipping noise impacts their ability to rest, communicate, and find food. You can help. Send a sighting, save a whale. If you see a whale, report it on the Whale Report app. The Whale Report app will send an alert to large ships in the area. This increases situational awareness for mariners and helps reduce the risk of an incident. Real-time sightings protect whales from ship strike and disturbance. See your real-time conservation impact and contribute to citizen science. Send a sighting, save a whale. Download the Whale Report app and report your sightings today.
And then there's a program called Quiet Sound, and their whole goal is to work with the marine industry and work with these large boater operators on ways to slow down. Slowing down is a big one. And so they have a voluntary slowdown zone that showed a lot of promise. And I think that's still going on right now. So yeah, there's been for the last couple of years an annual slowdown trial voluntary period, and they've got a good amount of compliance, and it showed that it actually did make a difference in the soundscape.
Very cool. You specified southern resident killer whales. How does the transient, the Biggs population, play into all this?
Yeah, great question. So there are multiple different ecotypes of orcas that live in Washington state waters, and there's offshore orcas. We don't talk about them much because they're offshore. Yeah. They're far away. We don't see them very much. The transient orcas, we're seeing more and more, and these are the orcas. They look very similar. There are some differences. You can learn some tricks and tips to tell the difference between them. At 1,000 yards, that's going to be really hard. But these transient orcas, the big difference is that they're not trying to eat Chinook salmon, they're trying to eat seals and sea lions, and they're pretty good at it. They hunt a little differently, and we've been seeing them. They're doing pretty well. You know, we want to keep an eye on them. They're still protected marine mammals, but they're doing all right. And so we're trying to more narrowly focus on the southern resident orcas who really do need our help.
Now, for the boater plying our waters out there, and they see at 1,000 yards, they see some dorsals and they see some spouts and maybe lucky enough to see a whale breach. It doesn't matter at that point if it's a transient or one from J-Pod. Just slow down, stop, and give them space. It doesn't matter which one it is.
No, I mean, if you accidentally give 1,000 yards of space to a transient orca, you're not hurting it. You're probably helping it.
Yeah.
And that's just a kind, conscientious way to be on the water around all whales, is to give them space, give them as much as you can, be grateful for the experience of knowing that they're there and preserving that for future generations.
And that is the best point to make of all, because for me and my family, and for so many people we know, probably the best memory of all of ever being out on the water here is seeing the whales. And it doesn't have to be the orca. It can be a humpback or a gray, and it's just, or the rare fin, minkies, right? And that's what we want to do. We want to be able to know that these whales are going to be here in 100 years and maybe even be more of them because we have helped. Is there any other elements to this new regulation that maybe we haven't talked about that you want to mention?
Good question. Oh, you know what?
What?
The thing we're really interested in. So the new law was actually passed in 2023, but it didn't go into effect until 2025. And part of the reason for that was that we wanted to spend a lot of time thinking about how to get the word out, updating all of our materials, updating our website. And we've been working on a boater toolkit, or it's at wdfw.wa.gov/orca.
Okay.
And so we're going to be adding more stuff there as we get more and more into the boating season. And one of the things, we had an advisory group working with us, telling us, how do we get the word out? How do we help people who want to do the right thing comply? And one of the things that they thought would be really valuable was peer-to-peer messaging. So we're interested in starting up a boater ambassador program.
Yeah.
And we're actually kind of looking around for people who might be
a great
interested in
idea.
being part of, talking to their local yacht club or sailing group about the regulations and learning about the whales in general. And so that website I mentioned, there's just an email list sign up there. We're kind of still building the program and thinking through what it's going to look like for this year. But we're interested in getting folks who want to be involved in that and want to help develop that program with us.
You want to help? We'll show the website. Go there. I think more boaters want to help than don't. So I don't think you're going to have much of a problem finding people. Well, thank you for stopping by and enlightening us and giving us some background and talking about why. And the rest of us are just going to do. Julie, thank you very much. And remember, 1,000 yards from here on out. That's been another episode of the Boat Geeks. Until next time, whatever floats your boat.
We're the